If you subscribe to this channel, you'll know that we've already reviewed the 2025 Ram 1500. So what are we doing here? Because this is the 2025 Ram 1500, right? But that one was a tungsten trim. We reviewed that on a drive program back in February. This is the Rebel, so very different purpose, and we figured it was worth giving it its own little review. Plus, now I've had some seat time in this on my own home turf, which is a bit of a different experience, and so I'm prepared to give you a different perspective. Like the Tungsten, the Rebel is only available in the crew cab configuration with the 5'7" bed, but superficially, that seems to be about where the similarities end. If anything, this looks more like the Tradesman trim with our black grille, black bumper, black mirrors, black door handles. But because it's more than $20,000 more expensive than that base trim, you know it's gotta have something extra, right? And some of that is aesthetic, like it's got these darkened headlights, it's got the black body cladding around these wheel arches, which are true arches. That's becoming less and less common these days, right? Now ours has the two-tone paint job, which from what I can tell, just blacks out this panel right here, probably why it doesn't cost anything extra aside from the cost of whatever color you pick. This hydro blue, not available on the Tungsten. This is a $245 option. And of course, only the Rebel trim is gonna get this graphic, and I hope you like it because it's standard. The Rebel also gets black dual exhaust tips, it's got a 1-inch factory lift, and it has several skid plates protecting the front suspension, the transfer case, the fuel tank, and more. You can get those skid plates on other trims, but that armor is standard on the Rebel because, of course, this is your off-roader. That's also why it gets the 33-inch Goodyear Wrangler DuraTrack all-terrain tires, and it comes with standard tow hooks. Now, you cannot get the power deployable running boards on the Rebel trim. You can get the tubular fixed side steps. I obviously don't have them here, but actually, I think I'm doing okay without them. Not so bad. I was impressed with the interior on the Tungsten, which is captured on video, of course, so you know that. But I actually think that this is plenty comfortable too. In fact, until you get moving, there's really nothing other than the vibe to let you know that this is not the kind of SUV that's meant for bringing executives to and from the airport. Things like these really chunky controls, the really blocky layout, that says truck to me, but if the styling were just a little bit more sophisticated, I might feel like I'm in a really comfortable SUV. Now, ours has the black leather. If you get the cloth and vinyl, which is the standard seating in the Rebel, you've got red accents everywhere. I mean, they're on the dash, they're on the steering wheel, they're on the center console. It's a little aggressive, maybe exactly what you'd be expecting from that Rebel graphic out there. We don't have that here. The black leather kind of tones things down a little bit. There's no subtlety package for the outside, but this is the muting package for the inside. So, like I said, nice and comfortable. This particular example does have enough options to bring its price perilously close to the starting price of the Tungsten trim, so it had better be comfortable, right? And we've got a lot of great stuff in here. We've got this large touchscreen with nav, dual wireless charger, the sunroof. This is all great. If you want to know more about the tech or the interior comfort, I spent a lot of time talking about both in that other video from February, so check that out. In the meantime, my one other sort of trim update here, I don't know if it's because this seat is only 8-way power adjustable compared to the Tungsten's 24, or if it has something to do with the fact that I haven't had to parallel park that one and I have had to parallel park this one in Boston. I'm finding I can't get the seat up as high as I want to. There's no chance I'm seeing over the hood, although I can see quite a lot of the dash and a bit of the hood. So it's an update on my experience now that I've lived with this for a week. But regardless, we are gonna venture out onto the road and we'll take it off-road as well. So I'm not doing anything too crazy in terms of off-roading today, but that is a function of what's available in Massachusetts, not of this truck's capabilities. I did get to take this on an off-road loop that Ram put together back in Austin in February, and that got a little bit of rough terrain here. That was pretty cool. It had a Baja stage, it had rocks, it had mud, it had water, it had steep hills and valleys. So I do feel confident discussing with you this truck's capability and its off-road features. And I will say that loop was wild because it was lead follow, and the guy leading was the most chill I have ever seen about this kind of thing. He had really no concerns about anybody's capability or experience. I think he just knew that the truck could handle it. So one of the big features that I made use of then is the fact that you can put it into 4 high, 4 low, right down here. That's really easy to reach, which is great. You can use hill descent control so that you're just managing the steering. Let the vehicle roll over rocks and manage the speed. We can use our air suspension, raise it up so that we've got a little bit more clearance. All really handy things. So now that we're out on the road, we can talk a bit about how some of those features might change the driving experience from the Tungsten, which again, you can check out my full video on that, to the Rebel. It's got some of the same components and some different components. For example, this has the standard output version of that twin turbo 3-liter inline 6-cylinder. High output is not available on this. This is the only engine you can get, but it's still making 420 horsepower and 469 pound-feet of torque, still better than the Hemi of yesteryear. Both the Rebel and the Tungsten have that 8-speed automatic transmission. I talked about that in my other video, saying I like that it's not too many gears. I stand by that. Really, no notes on the transmission, which probably a good thing. Steering, I remember commenting that it was not too light and that I liked that. Now that I spent a week with this, I'm gonna say it is a bit slow and heavy. Not unexpected for a truck, but it can be a little bit tricky when you're trying to park it or maneuver it in tight parking lots. Not parking garages. This would not fit in our parking garage at work because the limit is 6'6". This, as we discussed, also has the big tires, and that actually contributes to giving it an even more comfortable ride, I would say, than the Tungsten, partly because the tires help soak up bumps, also partly because this one happens to have the adaptive air suspension, same as the Tungsten that we tested. My husband was actually really impressed with the ride, commenting that it was nice and I think better than what he expected for an off-roader, so that's cool. Part of that is going to be the shocks. Now, the Rebel has performance-tuned shocks and the Tungsten has heavy-duty shocks. And based on context and my experience behind the wheel, I have to assume that what Ram means there by performance is off-roading. And by heavy-duty, I think they mean towing applications. So these are likely softer and more forgiving, whereas the Tungstens are stiffer. And some of that is contributing to some body roll. We are getting a little bit more body roll in the Rebel than I remember having in the Tungsten. It feels like a truck, nothing too crazy. A couple more things from my experience now that I've lived with this for a week. I've noticed that the traffic sign recognition can be a little bit slow to update, so something to be aware of. I've also noticed that switching drive modes can be a little bit laggy, especially if it's not at the right air suspension level for the drive mode. That can obviously take some time to make the switch. And this is a perfect time to mention, I hate the turn signal. This sort of syncopated beat, and it sounds kind of cheap. I don't like that. It's been driving me nuts. That's how this happened. That's how I got crazy. So let's talk about pricing. You remember how I said that this one is approaching Tungsten pricing? That's because this baby's got options, and here they are. It's got the towing tech group, the trailer tow group, the advanced safety group, the bed utility group, dual pane sunroof, Rebel level 2 equipment group, and of course the 4-corner air suspension. That brings the total cost as tested to $82,080. But options are just that, right? They're options. And I guess the point here is that from the Ram 1500, you can get a work truck, you can get an off-roader, or you can get a super luxe cruiser, or some combination of those. And in my opinion, if you want a combination of off-road and comfort, I would go for the Rebel and option it up with those convenience features rather than going for the Tungsten and optioning it up with those off-road features, because it's just going to be more cost effective. So what do you think? Let us know in the comments, and while you're at it, please let us know what you think of this trim update style review as well, because this is new for us. Please subscribe to this channel, and when the time comes to do your car shopping, use the CarGurus website or app.